They are the everyday objects which apparently we can't live without. Innovative gadgets that fascinate and entertain. Shiny new devices that are constantly upgraded to be faster and more powerful, with must-have new features.
I'm the operator of my pocket calculator.
Millions of us have succumbed to the culture of upgrading.
I'm the operator of my pocket calculator.
I'm already on my 10th mobile. Why do so many of us covet the upgrade?
Wrong number.
Is it really about functionality, the look or the feel? Or is there some deeper psychology at work here, to do with status and desire?
I'm controlling.
Gadgets have changed our relationship with the world and rewired our perceptions. As a writer, I'm interested in their impact on our imaginations.
It's really funky.
This story will take me to the other side of the world, to the beating heart of the upgrade. The speed of product innovation continues to accelerate, but is it sustainable?
And what's going to happen to all this stuff now?
The future is digital, but is it beautiful?
Well, now I'm very pleased to introduce someone who's written novels, short stories, television and films. Most recently he's written a book about how music has shaped his life. It's called Gig. And on top of all this, he's one of Britain's finest poets. Please will you welcome Simon Armitage.
Hello. I'm going to start by reading a poem about the pace of modern life and its effect on the brain and its effect on the body. So it's a poem that goes very, very quickly, and it's called Killing Time Number 2. Time in the brain cells sweating like a nail bomb, trouble with the heartbeat, spitting like a Sten gun, cut to the chase, pick up the pace, no such thing as a walkabout fun run, shoot yourself a glance in the chrome in the day room, don't hang about, you're running out of space, son. Red light, stop sign, belly full of road rage, ticket from the fuzz if you're dawdling in the slow lane, pull up your socks, get out of the blocks, 12-hour chase.
If the pace of life has accelerated, one major factor might be our obsession with keeping up with the speed of technological innovation. I'm very happy with my new smartphone. I can communicate however, wherever and whenever I want. But at other times, I wonder if gadgets make us frantic and anxious. What drives our appetite to upgrade to the latest consumer technology? And how has new technology changed our lives? West Yorkshire, where I was born and live, was one of the cradles of the Luddite movement, and back then technology was a dirty word. Ironic then, that without realising it, I've become a bit of a technophile with my sat-nav, smartphone and laptop. And inside this little furry blue pouch, I keep this little silver memory stick. Every word that I've ever written is on that stick, which is pretty extraordinary really, and I don't even think that I will ever fill it. If I'm looking for evidence of upgrading, I needn't look much further than my own home. Dumped in a drawer on the landing are my past purchases. I suppose you could say that this drawer and several others like it in the house represent the story of my upgrading thus far. This is the archaeology of my upgrading. I don't know whether these are trophies or whether it's a sort of, detritus or what. This was my first laptop, which I actually feel quite sentimental about now. Probably bought this about 10 years ago, but I was so proud of it and worried about losing it that I used to hide it under the settee every night when I went to bed. Sony Walkman, PDA, Palm, Tungsten. This was probably the most useless device I ever bought. I was getting rid of a handwritten diary and transferring everything to this. Contacts, appointments, names, addresses, telephone numbers. It was all going to be in here. And also, you had to learn a whole new hieroglyphic language before you could put information into it. Who wants to do that? Age 40 plus, learn a whole new language just so they can write 10 o'clock dentists. Excavating this drawer makes me question my attitude to technology. Am I destined to carry on upgrading forever? The digital revolution has crept up on us all. It's now so commonplace we barely recognise it. Last year in the UK, we bought a cool 24 million new phones. It feels like the speed of upgrading is accelerating. I've come to the John Lewis department store in Oxford Street, London. Despite the credit crunch, in 2008, sales of consumer electronics across John Lewis's 28 stores were up 3% on 2007. Across Britain last year, we went on a technology buying spree of epic proportions. We purchased 6 million digital cameras, 13 million computers, and 8 million new flat-screen televisions and 7 million MP3 players, which must be music to the ears of retailers like John Lewis. I know it's an odd thing to say in a shop, but everything looks very new, stuff that I haven't seen before. How often do the ranges change in all these various gadgets and things?
Well, it varies slightly from product area to product area. The one that you're standing next to here in computing, this changes 4 times a year, and it completely changes 4 times a year.
Every 3 months, everything is changed here.
Yeah, total new range. That's probably the most rapid change that we see. Areas like televisions and DVD recorders, that type of thing, they normally change once a year, but they have what they call a refresh. So pretty much every 6 months.
The entire camera range changes twice a year too. It's mind-boggling how often everything is replaced. Within months, your new gadget is so... yesterday? The living rooms of Britain have been transformed into home entertainment emporiums, with a subwoofer behind every settee. And is there one particular product that's driving this whole thing, would you say?
Well, I think what's, in the last 5 years, what's absolutely made people get excited about technology is the TV, because there's been this fundamental shift from the large box in the corner to something much slimmer and sleeker.
Also, people don't seem to be bothered anymore. It's a bit like being sat in the pub, having a sort of 60-inch television there in the room. Why do you think people buy technology? Is it just need, or is it something else?
There is need. So the telly broke, I want a new one. But for an awful lot of people, it is about what their friends have got, it's perhaps a status, and it's very much become part of our lifestyle. So you see it in the media, you see it on television yourself, and people start to think, well, I must buy into that.
The digital revolution has delivered uncountable gizmos and gadgets into the heart of our lives.
And to some they bring status and credibility, implying as they do success, knowledge and power. When you're in this kind of Aladdin's cave of technology, it's almost impossible not to be seduced into the idea of wanting something. And I don't think it's just because everything is so shiny and sleek and slimline and lightweight. It's the fact that it's all working and it all looks so neat and tidy. And I think you think actually my life could do with a bit of tidiness. If I get that thing there, it's going to sort everything out, bring everything into focus, put everything in its right place. And it does make you want to purchase. Looking around, upgrade culture seems to cross all boundaries of class, age and ethnicity. Perhaps it's been fueled by the wealth that this country has enjoyed in recent years. When I was young, money was much tighter and there was far less choice. I'm going to meet some school children to discover just how much of this stuff today's kids have got, at a school I know well from my visits as a poet. My first gadget was a radio in the shape of an electric shaver. How hilarious is that? It only played Radio 1. In fact, it only seemed to play Grandad by Clive Dunn.
Okay guys, if you could just pop your stuff, just take it off the desk for the time being. If you just clear the desks, thanks. If you've brought a gadget or an electronic device with you today, can you just get them out and put them on the table?
I'm gobsmacked by the amount of stuff the children have brought in today to show me. Holland Park School is a diverse inner-city comprehensive, and the pupils here come from every social background.
Is that a special cover you've got for us?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You can put music and stuff.
You watch videos on it as well?
These kids are 11 and 12, but a remarkable 49 out of 50 own a mobile phone.
What do you do?
Only a handful don't have the latest MP3 player or games console, and every child here owns a digital camera. You can't help thinking that gadgets are actually part of their identities.
Is it cool to be the same as everybody else, or is it cool to be different? I mean, could you be like really cool by not having a phone?
If you have a phone, then it's cooler than not having a phone, but it's also cool to have a different phone to your friends.
People like to compare their phones. For just like earlier, me and Dan, we were just comparing our phones, comparing them to different features on our phones, such as the camera, the games, downloading off the internet and things like that.
What is the ultimate gadget? What is the best gadget to have?
iPhone. The iPhone. That's neat.
Yeah, it does everything.
So even though nobody here has got an iPhone, you've all heard of it.
Yeah.
You all know what one is, and you all desire one.
I think I really need one at this stage in life.
Maybe you're in denial about it, but secretly it's the thing that you desire more than everything.
Not really.
Toys have long been status symbols for kids, but for this generation, there seems to be a good deal of social pressure on them and their parents to acquire the latest gadgets and be part of the gang.
It's also really interesting to see what a social tool they are. Gadgets are often thought of as things that isolate people, but watching them together, it seems to me that they're often devices for bringing people together.
I thought it would be fun to see how many of the children could recognise a portable music device from my youth.
Has anybody got one of these?
What is it?
What do you think it is?
A box.
You think it's a computer?
One of the first computers ever made.
inside the box. It looks like it could be like some big chunky laptop in its case.
I think it's a radio, and it might be like you can sit in it while listening to music.
Really comfy.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
It's a music player, one of those old-fashioned things. I don't know what's called.
A gramophone.
Yeah.
Rihanna.
Madonna.
You like press a button, this comes up.
No, because this thing like moves, then it takes it, and then it flips it.
Wait,
Right in the edge. Wait, don't do it too hard. Don't do it too hard.
Music and how to access and listen to it has been one of the biggest drivers of upgrade culture for today's generation. For me, music has always been a kind of fuel that powers your daydreams. I'm from that generation that got a wonky spine from carrying vinyl around. I was in my mid-teens when bands like Blondie were making their noise. I caught the tail end of punk, and all my spare money went on records. After vinyl, it was the cassette and the Sony Walkman, nothing short of a revolution. Suddenly, you could go anywhere with music. Then it was CD, minidisc, and finally the digital MP3 player, dominated by one particular brand.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
The iPod was a quantum leap in listening to music. Suddenly you could have 10,000 songs on this little device. The comparison used to be with a cigarette packet that you could just drop in your top pocket. I used to think of it as like a little block of Kendall mint cake sat there, and with these headphones it was like music playing directly into your thoughts. It was music being mainlined straight into your imagination.
The classic iPod will always be white. Tom Dunmore is a gadget guru and the editor of Lad's gadget magazine, Stuff. Stuff has dotted every I in the iPod story.
Welcome to our club.
It's gadget porn for those who lust and desire.
Can we talk about what I think of as the stuff of stuff? Do you remember seeing your first ever iPod?
I remember it really clearly, actually, because I went to the Macworld exhibition in London, and it was the first day it was on sale. It had already been out in America, but not for very long. But I think I've got one of the first ones here, and back then, when it started, this is actually a second generation one, but the first one that came out looked exactly the same, but this wheel here was actually mechanical, so it moved with your finger. And I actually really miss that, because there's a kind of really nice analogue feel to quite a digital device.
When this notion of the iPod came along, I was really excited about it. I said to my wife, I want one of those, and she said, okay, I'll get you one for Christmas. And I still use the one that I got all those years ago, so I guess this is a kind of a original, is it?
Yeah, that's a third generation iPod.
Third generation,
that's
is
third
it?
generation, yeah. So that came after this one.
Tom walked me through the whole evolution of the iPod upgrades. They've come thinner and faster. 6 generations of the iPod Classic since 2001, each smaller with a bigger memory or more features. Of course, there are other MP3 players, brands like Sony, Creative or Philips, but for me, it's the iPod that is synonymous with upgrading.
Is it fair to say that we've been living through a revolution, a digital revolution?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not only been a digital revolution, it's gone hand in hand with a design revolution. I think the two are really interlinked.
With the iPod, Apple upped the design stakes and brought a new simplicity to music players. Going digital freed the industry to play with the look and feel of devices. But it's not just the 30-something male readers of Stuff magazine who have bought the latest iPods. Women, kids, even old fogey dads like me have sported the famous white earphone. While Apple were the established cool outsider brand, I wonder if the iPod's success was also down to its advertising. Robin White is a leading ad man who spent years researching advertising psychology.
Robin, when I think of iPod advertising, this is the advert I think of, this silhouette campaign. Why was this so important?
These are brilliant. First of all, you've got this signalling of the white wire. Now, a big part of this young people's market is you'll try to signal your success, you're cool, about basically genetic fitness.
So, through having an iPod, they're saying, I am good breeding stock.
You're exactly doing that at an unconscious level, and sometimes at a conscious level. You're signalling because you can afford this display activity, and you're actually signalling peacock's tail behaviour, signalling of genetic fitness, and it is the mating game.
How big do you think my iPod is?
Well, your iPod, I'm sure you have the very latest one. It's the exact size. Probably, a small one may be more status than a big one, at least in iPods.
And is it as crude as, I want to be that person?
Well, one of the points is you don't see who the person is, so you can be that person.
So I can slot into that.
You can identify with it. It's the concept of the incomplete proposition. It's called the Zargonic effect. If you have something that's incomplete, and you complete the circle, which your brain will do, then it's much more engaging.
So, in your opinion, with an upgraded product, is that product a response to our need for an upgraded product, or is it simply that the companies need to keep selling us things?
Well, it's a mixture of the two. But the companies' need to keep selling things wouldn't work if there wasn't this underlying need. People need, for the functional and the signalling part, the upgrades. And it drives human progress. You should be happy, because if humans didn't want to upgrade, we'd probably still be in the Middle Ages.
No one else cares on this side of
Apple and clever advertising psychology certainly helped drag music out of the Middle Ages. But it's interesting that today the biggest player in consumer electronics is not in the United States or even in Japan. They're here in South Korea at the cutting edge of the digital revolution. Just peeled myself out of the aeroplane after a 10-hour flight. The sun's coming up on a new country for me. It's very exciting, and I'm heading to Gadget HQ in Gadget City, in Gadget Country. So I feel as if I'm right in the epicenter of the technological revolution. It's exciting. South Korea is one of the world's most advanced digital societies. The capital city Seoul is home to Samsung, today the world's largest consumer electronics company. Their global sales have overtaken Sony's and competitors like Toshiba and Panasonic. This is Samsung's swanky new headquarters. The company make an extraordinary diverse range of gadgets, with products for every conceivable and some inconceivable occasions. In 2007, their global consumer electronics sales reached a staggering $105 billion. Inside the HQ is Samsung Delight, a glistening multimedia display promoting the creative philosophy of the company. My guide is Seon Mi Jin.
Watch your step. Samsung Delight has 3 floors, and now we are going to the first floor. And first of all, there are three kinds of genres: image, text, and sound.
Image, text, and sound.
And it's also a kinds of marketing. And
the atmosphere is postmodern, but one you can touch and play with. An otherworldly high-tech palace of the senses.
What have we got here?
Oh yes. Now you see our MP3 player.
Are there MP3 players?
Yes.
Right. Looks very light.
Yes. Would you like to pick up? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's really
plays
light.
nothing, does it? So it's a sort of pebble-shaped iPod type thing.
Yes, that could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would Samsung design something in the shape of a pebble?
We designed like a pebble because it is easy to grip and easy to hold, and really a small one.
It's sort of beautiful as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that the idea, to appeal to people's sense of beauty?
Sure, yeah. So it's really popular for young people, especially. And we also have pebble design for DVD players.
Because a lot of the original gadgets were quite ugly, weren't they? But they were useful. But it seems now almost as if they're becoming jewellery.
Yes,
ornament.
yes. There could be also one idea for these MP3 players.
Yes.
Walking around the exhibition is a calm and inviting experience. It's design that wants us to engage and be at one with it. Samsung's business is to create the products of tomorrow and to anticipate our desires. Everything is lightweight and pleasing to the eye.
What's very clear looking at these products is that function is no longer a primary concern. We all know that these things work. It's about fashion now. It's about design. It's about decoration. It's about beauty. Who knows? It could even be about art.
그거는 진짜 좀 이렇게 그런 시리어스한 거고.
6 floors above the showroom, Samsung's mobile phone design team are brainstorming next season's phones. Each year, they're responsible for designing dozens of new models.
그래서 이제 세대가 터치세대로 바뀌면서 충분히 삼성이 먼저 시작했잖아요, 워치폰 같은 경우는. 그거에 대해서 LCD를 얼마큼 사이즈 쓸 것인지, 어떤 베네핏이 있을 것인지에 대한 거를 우리 나름대로 다음 프로젝트로 정리를 해도 괜찮을 것 같아요. 거기다가.
Surprisingly, they use literary notions to inspire their discussion with enigmatic team leader Elliot. Ideas like stories, emotion, and identity.
우리가 보는 것보다 중요한 게 느끼게 되잖아. 그러니까 뭐 찍어와가지고 감동 가지고 디자인 해야 되는데 그 뭐 본 거 가지고 하려면 사진 찍고 오시는 거야.
The biggest trend in consumer electronics is convergence, gadgets that can do a multitude of things. The team's latest design is an upmarket touchscreen phone combined with camera, MP3 player and internet access.
Actually, design something is like a journey for finding kind of new story, new kind of emotion for the people. So they want to express their lifestyle with this, very stylish phone. Especially in the back. The back side is more important. It's getting more important these days.
So through the back of the phone, because that's projecting towards other people, you're signalling to other people what sort of person you are.
That's right. That's right.
And what sort of person would I be if I had this phone? Would I cool, smart,
both, I think.
Sexy?
Absolutely.
And next year, will there be a better phone than this?
Absolutely. Because design trend is changing and people's emotion is also changing.
Does Korea have a huge appetite for new phones?
It's kind of test bed for new design, new technologies. So every time when we introduce new phones, people really like that. Sometimes having old phone here is kind of very strange.
On the 11th floor lives Samsung's ringtone team. It might not be Mozart, but these little ditties are the Pavlovian noises that send us scurrying to our phones. As if our devices speak to us using a language we all understand. Music. Across Seoul, I was then shown a vision of what Samsung think our domestic lives might become.
Hello. Nice to meet you. This is Future House, recorded jointly by Microsoft and Samsung Engineering and Construction to exhibit House of the Future. So today I will be the owner of this house. I would like to introduce to you. Please to be seated on the couch. This is living room, and this cell phone is a key to use control my house. And I can show you very briefly now. And even I can check where is my family inside this living room. When I'm wondering about the location of my little boy, I can click the little boy pictures. And this is kind of GPS system. So in the future, every family member have RFID chip. Do you like this system?
Yeah, the system's great.
Thank you very much.
So every member of the family has a chip on them, in them?
Both of them is possible. And I think in the future every family member have RFID chip like a bracelet or necklace or a cell phone is possible.
Okay.
I can understand the thinking here, but I'm not convinced this surveillance future is one I want to live in. I'll find these huge multimedia gizmos in my living room.
Is this the bathroom?
Yes.
But what about the bathroom of the future? A bathroom's a bathroom, right?
This is BioZone, and actually you can check your health condition with this little check machine. So would you like to try it?
Yeah.
Yes. Come over here and put your hand on the machine. Yeah, put your both hand on. And now start your health condition. Now checking your health condition. And you can see the diabetes result via magic mirror. Health check is done. Now it's done, Simon.
How was that?
And you will see the result via magic mirror. Oh, Simon, congratulations, you have great condition.
See, my body is my temple.
There are recommended yoga programs.
It's a good diet.
Yes. And also, they're recommending yoga program for you, Simon.
What did it check? Did it check my pulse, my heart rate?
Yes. In the future, you can check health condition in this house and without going to hospital. Have you ever exercised yoga? At the tree pose.
I have to do that now.
Regular practice of this posture. So family member can exercise very easily. Yes. And cultivate concentration. Straighten yourself with your palms on your waist.
This is called the house of the future. How far into the future will it be before we've got all these gadgets?
Yeah. Actually now it's not available, but we try to actualize in about 10 years.
10 years?
Yes.
Can you do that?
I think so.
Fly to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me know what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Sitting in the bedroom of the future, you realise that the future is, how shall we put it, a question of personal taste. And that certain visions of the future can even seem, well, old-fashioned. I'm struck by a comment from Elliot, the mobile phone designer, about how Koreans are a nation of upgraders.
and the country is a test bed for Samsung's new products. In Seoul, everywhere you go you see people with the latest gadgets. It's hyper-real and hyperactive. They've got Wi-Fi and digital TV reception across Korea, even on the underground. You could be standing just inches away from somebody and they're totally absorbed in whatever they're doing, watching telly, listening to music. But for some reason in this country, it doesn't appear rude. It just seems to be the norm. It's odd to have witnessed so many people in their own private universes. Are they stimulated or insulated against the world? Even in public places, you sometimes get the feeling that you're on your own. Koreans love their video games. Throughout the country you'll find what they call PC bangs, places where young men are engrossed in game playing for hours on end. It seems alien to me. The last video game I played was Space Invaders in a pub in 1985. Gaming is so much part of the culture here. They have professional leagues, and games are even screened on TV. How did Korea become this advanced digital society? I met up with Korean culture writer Bernard Cho. What is it about Korea? Is there something in the Korean psyche that naturally leads to gadgets and electronic devices?
Well, I think if you look at modern Korean history, Korea has developed so quickly economically, politically, and more importantly from a technology standpoint. Towards the late 90s, the Korean government invested heavily into the internet, heavily into technology, and you saw a huge takeoff in terms of Korean brands developing, instead of imitative, very innovative products. You saw the whole Korean online society, digital society just really take off. And so if a new trend's going to break with an advanced wired and wireless society such as Korea, it's going to spread instantly.
Samsung have come to epitomize the development of Korea. Once seen as followers of Japan and the West, they're now one of the trendsetters. They've taken their products upmarket, and the company's reputation appears to be a source of national pride here. But when it's -7 in the middle of Seoul's busiest street, it's a bit of a reality check. And even the finest virtual reality gadget in the world can't stop it feeling unbelievably cold.
I'm on my way to Suwon, which is about 25 miles outside Seoul, and I'm going to Samsung's Research and Development headquarters.
I'm curious about how Samsung have achieved their success. This kind of global triumph doesn't happen by accident. So what's the secret? At the Suwon Research Complex, 26,000 scientists and company executives are developing tomorrow's technologies. Through R&D, last year Samsung was one of the largest holders of new technology patents registered in the US. At Suwon, they also house the whole history of the company and generations of its upgrades.
And when we were originally based here, was that the 60s?
Yeah, 60s. It's a long time ago.
Is there one innovation above all others that's led to this technological revolution?
Yes, and I believe one of the most important and key component to success is our chip business. Samsung is the one of the most advanced technology company in developing and commercialize the semiconductor chips. That technology is really a core and the center of all the development and all our commercial gadgets.
So you could say that the semiconductor chip is at the heart of the revolution, and it's almost like the sort of beating heart of the device as well.
I believe so, because without that chip technologies, we couldn't develop very fancy and very high technologies gadgets like LCD TV and cell phones.
For Samsung, it's their investment in R&D, particularly nanotechnology, that they believe is the key to their success. And it's nanotechnology that is also the driving force behind the upgrade. In the electronics industry, it's called Moore's Law. Across the industry, the number of transistors manufacturers have been able to fit on a silicon chip has literally doubled every 2 years since the late 1960s. It helps explain how gadgets have become smaller and cheaper, with exponential increases in processing power. If you were to close your eyes and dream, what does the future hold for the device, for the gadget? What kind of gadget can you imagine in 5 years, in 10 years?
That is also one of the very critical questions for all the electronic companies facing. We believe one of the gadgets will prevail over other gadgets. It should be a cell phone, should be TV, should be computer, I don't know. But we believe the market will decide. But one thing I can be sure is, the convergence era will continue.
Before leaving, I thought I'd take advantage of the Wi-Fi signal here and try Skyping home for the first time. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
You alright?
Yeah, how are you?
Alright, it works.
It certainly does. It's pretty amazing. Shall I wave? Hello? Yeah, I think it's great.
It's an interesting place. It's gadget crazy. I don't know what this country would do if they had a power cut.
Not much gadget action at this end.
I have a very important question to ask you. Do you know how United went on last night?
No. Would I know how United went on last night, Simon? I'm sorry, I don't.
You couldn't just flick CFAX on for me while you're there, could you? It seems a weird thing to say, given that I've only just got here, but I'll be back tomorrow.
I know, that's pretty strange as well. That's absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible to do that, and I bet we should be doing more of it. It's great. Bye.
Bye, see you tomorrow. Bye.
Yep, see ya.
Bye. For me, the enthusiasm with which Korea has embraced technology is the biggest eye-opener. For Koreans, technology is the unquestioned road to prosperity and enlightenment. Back in Yorkshire, the contrast with Seoul couldn't be starker, apart from the snow, obviously. So my body's back on the day job, but my thoughts are still in Asia. In 30 years, Korea has been transformed beyond all recognition. It's wired to the digital future and is years ahead of us in its connectivity. What's happened in Britain in the same period? The way our past shape our lives is a subject I return to again and again as a poet. Growing up in the 70s, life was rather different. There were no mobile phones or personal stereos back then. What did we do all the time? How did we survive? This is my parents' living room, and used to spend a lot of time in this room, and it was a big deal if anything ever changed. You know, you got a new telly or a new phone or a new record player. It was a big deal because that's how it was then. You got things and you kept them. Back then, objects had sentimental value. They were imbued with memories. I wonder if this is lost with the speed of upgrading. Objects were once landmarks and anchors for our pasts. This is an old laptop of mine. My mum uses it now. Today we've barely got to know an object before it's being replaced. But I'm not saying we should keep living in the past. Back in the 19th century, the Luddites attempted to halt the march of technology, and people lost their lives. Here in Marsden, you don't have to look too far to find evidence of that conflict. This is a grave of Enoch Taylor, who had a foundry in the village. He made cropping devices that did the work of 10 men, and the Luddites didn't like that, so they smashed it up with a big hammer they called Enoch, and they said, Enoch shall make 'em and Enoch shall break 'em. So this is a confluence point of technology and anti-technology right here on my doorstep. These days, there really aren't many people who actively reject technology. Even the greenest of the greens have usually got a website. To find someone who had taken a stand led me here to Pembrokeshire. For the past decade, Emma Orbach has lived here without any of today's techno trappings. Hello?
Hiya.
Hello? Hiya. Hiya. Simon. Hiya.
I'm Emma.
Nice to meet you. Hiya.
Good. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, shall I slip my shoes off?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I don't suppose there could be that many people in Britain who would want to live like this, do you think?
Yeah, sometimes I thought about if, for example, I was discovered living like this, there could be like shock horror headlines, you know, middle-aged woman found living in hovel in woods without electricity or running water. And so what is the difference between that scenario and how I experience living here? And the difference is that I choose to live like this, and that for me it's beautiful. I'm not a victim of a circumstance that I would wish to be otherwise.
So, to own a gadget would not make you any happier?
No, it makes me a bit depressed.
Does it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they always break down, and they make a noise, and they end up as landfill, and they're just part of the consumer nightmare.
It must be great to just get up in the morning and be out here in the land.
Yeah, it is really beautiful.
Emma has lived without a washing machine for 30 years. She's got no TV, no microwave, no radio even. Her one concession to communication, a landline 2 fields away. It's low-impact living in extremis. It's in spite of the absence of mod cons, Emma doesn't seem to want for anything.
Oh, so beautiful.
Do they come out with their spikes on?
No, when they're born, a little pink rubbery thing.
Have you renounced technology?
That's a really interesting question for me, and I've started to feel that I'm a conscientious objector, really. And for me, I am not convinced that technology and gadgets add to the quality of my life. In fact, I think they detract from it.
What would constitute an upgrade in your world?
I can't think of anything apart from, yes, I do have an ambition to upgrade my trivets so that my visitors don't have wooden handles, and that's quite a sophisticated sort of bit of innovative modern technology for me. Yeah.
I wonder where you'd go to upgrade your trivet.
I'll just get somebody to
Trivets
do
are
it
us.
for me. There's somebody who makes them locally.
On the face of it, a life like this seems quite seductive almost, especially on a sunny day. And I think I could live without TV, and I could probably live without a washing machine and a microwave and that kind of thing. But I would find it very difficult to be out of contact for so long. And so giving up the email and giving up the phone, I think I would find impossible. Even now, with my phone in my pocket, I'm wondering which calls I might have missed. So I'm going to go and check. Back in the blur of central London, Pembrokeshire feels like a distant era. My phone's back on, so I'm happy, right?
Hi Catherine, hi. Where are you? Yeah, well, I'm in the station now. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay, bye.
To find out if gadgets really do make us happy, I've come to St Pancras Station to meet a consumer psychologist.
We know that upgrade culture has been accelerating through the years. What effect would you say that was having on us as people?
I would say it has a detrimental effect. We're not aware of how it actually impacts on us because we are on a hedonic treadmill of consumption, if you like, whereby we tend to purchase more and more and more products, especially gadgets. And unfortunately, people have a subconscious belief that it's going to make them happier, and it doesn't. But because we believe it's going to make us happy, we keep purchasing the next product in the hope that it's going to fulfill some sort of psychological need.
But what about the specifications and the functionality? You know, for example, on my phone now I can get email and I couldn't do that before, and that makes me, I think, happy. Am I just deluded?
It might be practical. No, I wouldn't say you're deluded, but most of the time people don't actually even make use of all the kind of functions that a gadget actually has.
Salman Rushdie once said this thing that we've all got a God-shaped hole inside of us, but I actually wonder whether this hole inside of us is actually the shape of a laptop or an iPod, you know, and that we won't be happy until we can sort of stuff all this technology in and become sort of gods and machines at the same time.
I wouldn't quite put it that way, but I think what people are trying to seek for in life in general is some sort of happiness, and I think if they believe that these products are the route to happiness, then yes, they might have a desire to try to be more fully integrated with them somehow. But if you don't have that belief, you're probably going to back off and see the whole thing as a rather nasty idea.
You don't see technology as being the road to paradise anyway, do you?
I don't see any consumption being the route to paradise.
The road to paradise doesn't always follow the scenic route. This is Sweep Electronics recycling plant in Kent.
Will every TV in the land end up somewhere like this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very well-established legislation now around TVs. They're actually classified as a hazardous waste.
So I guess if you wanted any evidence that people are upgrading all the time, this is it. Because, I mean, it's not long since I had a TV like this. You know, it's not like they're 1950s stuff.
No, not at all. In fact, I recognise my model on occasions. I've actually got a glass telly still at home myself.
The scale of it is quite overpowering. I mean, it's just all these sort of disgorged innards piling up. It's not pretty, is it?
No, it's not pretty, but you can look at it the other way. At least it's here being recycled rather than going into landfill. It's scary to see it, but I'd much prefer to see it here than not see it at all.
This is a big operation. They recycle 3,000 televisions a day here. They're disassembled by hand, and then the materials are reused to make new TVs. Every day, they also process 40 tons of computers, devices, and white goods. An elephant's graveyard of gadgets and gizmos. But what's recycled is only a fraction of what's dumped in landfill.
It feels insane that even stuff like this it's only a few years old and it would have cost thousands of pounds, just chucked in a tip. It feels like a kind of madness, as if, it can't possibly carry on like this. Well, it's the end of the road for the Palm PDA. I would be lying if I said that I was sorry to see it go. And it's going to that place where all Palm PDAs go at the end of their life. It's Palm PDA heaven it's going to. It's going in the crusher.
I'm glad the PDA has gone to a sound environmental heaven. But will it stop me buying the next new thing? Whether it's frustrating or useful, or simply a beautiful object to impress our friends with, we continue to embrace new technology ever closer. The economic imperative tends to drive innovation forward. The cutting edge of technology is constantly changing, and the possibilities are extraordinary.
We get very emotionally attached to our gadgets. But is there a future where we get physically attached to them as well, to the point where we might want to upgrade ourselves? Is there a future where technology is not just at our fingertips, but in our fingertips? Maybe that's the next frontier.
In the last decade, what was once science fiction has become science fact. Computer chips have been implanted in the cochlea to restore hearing to deaf children. Researchers are working on chips attached to the retina to restore sight loss. Here at Cambridge University's Institute of Biotechnology, they're developing sensors to be implanted inside the body to give doctors real-time information about proteins and molecules inside the bloodstream.
Your first work in this field was with chips, wasn't it?
That's quite correct, yes.
And are these the kind of chips that you were working with?
These are exactly the chips that we developed a few years ago, yes.
So, this chip would be, what, implanted into the body?
This particular chip is exactly that. We designed this to monitor glucose and to be implanted within the body. And you can see it's a relatively small sized chip, and it would be implanted either in a location like here or perhaps around the midriff. The problem with this technology is it's actually quite expensive, and that's more or less why we stopped it, to see whether we could find cheaper alternatives which would allow us to monitor glucose and other metabolites in the body with a much simpler system.
The scientists are developing two types of sensor, one using light and one using sound. The light device is a hologram, produced by lasers that fire onto specially developed polymers. The hologram changes colour in response to changes in the blood chemistry. With acoustics, a radio signal is sent to the tiny transparent sensor, which then sends back the blood information.
That just looks to me like a contact lens or something.
Yeah, it is actually a quartz disc made out of silica.
And that goes under someone's skin.
Correct. Yeah.
And transmits information about what?
One of the major applications of this is to monitor glucose in blood of diabetics in real time. If we can do that and control the blood glucose far more precisely than you would if you were, say, pricking your finger, say, 5 or so times a day, then I think what you'd have is the ability to control the diabetes far better, and you would not suffer a lot of the consequences of diabetes, like blindness, for example, also problems with the kidney.
For now, this sensor technology remains experimental. In the future, the hope is it will improve diagnosis and treatment for conditions such as stress, schizophrenia,
and multiple sclerosis. The sensors could help patients better manage their symptoms. Would you describe this kind of technology as sort of an upgrade to the human body?
In the sense that you're not going to suffer from all the side reactions that you would normally do. Of course it's an upgrade, but there are other applications of that. For example, we've been looking at some of the sports applications, bearing in mind we have the Olympics in 2012, and that the elite athletes are interested in monitoring their glucose levels and their lactate levels, because this determines their performance. And if you could monitor that and have some control over that during training, I think you could upgrade their performance there.
Does that move then to, being able to measure somebody's state of mind?
In terms of measuring their state of mind, it depends on, can we find something to measure which would be an indicator of their state of mind? And if the answer is yes to that we could find a measure of that, some sort of chemical measure of it, then we could in theory do the same thing. But this is a long way into the future, of course.
Technology plays a central role in our imaginations. But just how close do we want our relationship to become? We've placed our faith in these bewildering, ingenious objects to the point where we'd be lost and angry without them. I've got my gadgets though, and after decades of upgrading, they seem perfect to me, so I can be happy with my lot. At least, that is, until tomorrow.
We're going back in time to the House of Electric Dreams, where our guinea pig family are coming to terms with another decade's techno toys. Our Electric Revolution season continues at 9 on Tuesday.